Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another session with Michael and I on this new topic of Mr. Bruce Lee, martial arts. And according to what Michael has told us already, a film producer and would-be film producer, I suppose, because he really didn't produce much, did he, Michael? Welcome, Michael.
Yeah, welcome, Brad. Hello, dear listeners. I suspect that we will throw off a bunch of real die-hard fans because our approach is much different from the usual approach. People just are determined to look upon the physical capabilities of Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and all these people. But I'm really facing forward the thing that almost no one goes behind the industry. And so this Bruce Lee, or Lee Jun-fan, his Chinese name, is just a prime example because I think it covers much of interesting facts which are not generally known by the general public. Because he was a senior American actor, so that he was born in San Francisco, but he was raised in Hong Kong. Later, at the age of 18, he went back to the United States also to claim his United States citizenship, among other things. As I told you last time, I have read many books on the subject. And of course, I will forget this fact and that fact sometimes, but I'm eager to go behind the martial arts legend and look real for things who usually documentations will not consider the things important, but I consider it more important than to have some discussions of which move is the best and if he would be the fastest and all this stuff. Mainly, Bruce Lee is an actor. That does not take anything away from his abilities in the martial arts. That does not take anything away from his ability as a so-called philosopher. That does not take anything away from his ability as a human being. But you have to realize that he was born into a family of actors because his father on the right, he was an actor in the Chinese opera. That's why he was born in San Francisco, because at that time, 1940 in November, his father has an engagement in the Chinatown, so in the Chinese section of San Francisco. So that's the reason why Bruce Lee had been born in San Francisco, United States, and not in Hong Kong or anywhere else. It was just that his wife agreed on going to San Francisco as well, and that's where he was born, in San Francisco, on the 27th of November, 1940. In this episode, we will not go into Bruce Lee very deep. That will come later, because first of all, we have to have some general knowledge of the things to come, I think, which are not generally known. And that's really a problem. You don't learn it in the history lessons. You don't learn it in a martial arts school. You don't learn it everywhere. You have to educate yourself. Don't depend on the state or any school or any university and any teacher to educate you. I realize, and I'm way more than 50 years old, that I have to educate myself. First and foremost, because Brett and I, we are Bible-believing Christians on the Bible. And secondly, we have to look for the real history behind it so that we really can sort out what's the fake news and what's the real news and what's the reality behind it. And that's not an easy feat, Brett, isn't it?
It's a very painful one, too. And I think, it all depends on how you look at it, I guess, huh? So, Michael, looking forward to learning more about this entire realm of your research.
It has, of course, to do with not only with Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee as the prime example. It has to do with the role of China in the world. It has to do with the American industry. It has to do with real history. And so, therefore, it would be maybe the best to pretend that you are just do not know anything, so that you're absolutely fresh. You have erased your hard disk drive. as Master Ken would tell you, you have to erase your hard disk drive, and I'm not
Yeah, Michael, it's reformatting, like
reformatting. Yes,
yeah.
yeah. You do not know. There's a quite hilarious real martial artist out there who's called Master Ken. And Master Ken is making a spoof of everything, and he makes hilarious comedy. And he has created a fantasy system called Ameridote, which is, of course, surpassing every other style in martial arts. And he knows 100 ways to defend against knives and 200 hits per second and all that stuff. I showed it to you last or second to last time. And that's why I say it's unbelievable. But to find out the truth is extremely hard in this world where you've been bombarded with tons of useless information. And I hope that we can provide in this episode a general look on martial arts. So let me now welcome you officially to that second session on Bruce Lee. Here we go. So that is his artist, Cantonese opera father, Li Hoi Chung, with his wife, and the small, I do not call it baby, because baby, in my humble opinion, Brett, is an abbreviation of Babylon. I call it the little child, Bruce Lee. He had been born in November 1940 in San Francisco. And after that engagement, after they have made several events there in Chinatown, the family decided to move back to Hong Kong when Bruce Lee had been 3 months old. So that means in February 1941, they were moving back to Hong Kong in the middle of the Second World War, of course. But that will be an issue quite later on. Let me go to the script for this session.
Well, I found that interesting, Michael. Some time ago, you had mentioned that Hong Kong was not a part of China. And I forget what year.
The British Empire has had a contract that they could occupy and manage Hong Kong until 1997.
I never knew that. That's news to me. I thought that was a very interesting fact.
Yeah, to see that the British Empire has occupied and managed Hong Kong until 1997. And it had been established as a colony of the British Empire from 1841-42. So for more than 150 years, it belonged to the United Kingdom. Yeah, and so it was a capitalist country, let's put it this way. And after 1997, you see that many so-called liberties are gone, and a little bit more of influence from mainland China is going on. And so, yeah, the Hong Kong citizen, they are not very delighted that China has taken over so far. But that's it, actually. The whole territory has been transferred to China in 1997. And now it's called a special administrative region, together with Macau, belongs to China. So much so. So what about Bruce Lee, and what about martial arts in general? You see, the internet is full of BS. Don't expect me to go into every nitty-gritty. We will do that maybe later when we are focusing on the man Bruce Lee, but not at the moment. It's unbelievable how many false information is out there. This is Sadhguru, somebody who at the World Economic Forum tells you that he says there are too many souls on this planet. So these are all in the satanic media to depopularize the earth. Yeah, and he's speaking about that Bruce Lee had some abilities using money, buraka, and all that stuff. You see that this man is a fraud. He is absolutely a fraud. Yeah, we will go into many, many items, but now we have to go on a quite average route. First of all, the things that have been presented by us on the media aren't naturally the things that we are supposed to see, and it is not the reality. It is through the lens of the camera or through the pen of the writer. That meaning that for almost 200 years now, the media has been controlled. We can prove that with the claim of a former New York magazine. That's him, John Swinton, a Scottish-American journalist, newspaper publisher, orator. He served as a chief editorial writer of the New York Times, and he said that journalists are intellectual prostitutes. Yeah. Our time, our talents, our lives, our possibilities, all are the property of other men. There is no such thing in America as an independent press. Yeah, and you can also add to that, right? There is no thing in America as an independent movies.
Oh, most certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Movie making, yeah.
So they show us what they want us to see and to believe. And sometimes it's the other way around. You see that this impression here on the camera screen is quite the opposite to the real event. Yeah, where this is the victim running away from the murderer, and here it's the other way around. I really like that picture because it shows you that the cameraman actually is a dictator, or the photographer is a dictator, the editor is a dictator, because they are dictating what you are about to see, learn, and believe. So the issue with Bruce Lee is that he will ever be remembered as a young, vital guy. No one will remember Bruce as an old man in a cane, but just as the young man who was martial arts best, like James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, etc., 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 etc. Amy Winehouse. Name everybody who has deceased at a quite young age. And so the image of Bruce Lee will be forever young, forever vital, and forever the best. Unbeatable. But where does it all come from? Yeah, you see, Bruce Lee has paved the way for so many other martial artists, or for an entire genre. Yeah, for the martial arts film, or generally speaking, Brad, the Eastern. Yeah, usually we know about the Western. Yeah, that was John Wayne, for example. Yeah, all these characters, Ronald Reagan. Yeah, all these actors, they brought us Western, or Clint Eastwood on that regard. Yeah, but then at the beginning of the 1970s, there was the Eastern. So east of the world, Asia, has then been more open to the public, and they produced movies who are then about to be seen in Western cinemas. So that's it. That's it. That's a big. So there was a big movie industry evolving in Asia. And it's all about big money, of course. So all the names I have listed here would not be known if there would be not the forerunner or the father of martial arts in a movie, Bruce Lee. You would never encounter Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris would be just a point karate fighter. Jet Li would be just one of a famous Chinese guy, but not worldwide fame, and would never have starred in Lethal Weapon. Jackie Chan would not be the #1 Asian star that he was for several decades, and Cynthia Rothrock would, I think, never stand a chance to perform in movies. So all these people who are then action stars, and we are busy with martial arts, and you can add so many people to the name or to the list. Make it Michael J. White, name anybody to that list, Steven Seagal, Jeff Speakman, name anybody. Yeah, they're all in the footsteps of Bruce Lee, because he was the first one who made really the martial arts public. There were quite some Japanese films before. So the Second Samurai, I think it was, and Godzilla, and all these monster movies and samurai movies, but not a particular martial arts movie. That was at the height of the 1970s, the Kung Fu craze. When there was a certain singer called Carl Douglas, everybody was Kung Fu fighting. These kids were fast as lightning. That was a #1 hit even. Yeah, so that was a really crazy thing going on, and therefore you can assume that it had all previously been carefully planned. Everything had been planned beforehand. That we will come to, I think, in one of the next sessions. The Summer of Love has been planned, and the Hillbillies and the London scene, everything has been planned before. and not by politicians, but by the people behind the politicians. So what is this about? This is about to give a general image about that the press and the media, which has been controlled, is using until this very day Bruce Lee as an icon, as a role model for Asian males. Usually, Asian males had been portrayed up to then as weak, small, unimportant, just servants, like Charlie Chan's Favorite Son, the movie series, yeah, and the cook in Ponderosa, Bonanza, yeah, is a Chinese cook, yeah. So and in even in Breakfast at Tiffany's, they used a Western actor to portray in a Chinese guy, yeah, and also in the series Kung Fu with or Kane, with where supposedly a Chinese monk is coming to the Western and without fighting, without any weapons, with much philosophy. That role took David Carradine, and we will talk about David Carradine in the future. And he was just a Western actor without any kung fu background so far. Yeah, some basic things, but not by much. And so the industry was not ready to portray a Chinese superstars in the 1960s. That's also the reason why Bruce Lee went to Hong Kong after he got an offer by Raymond Chow. But I said this episode is about the idolism, and this episode will be about martial arts. So let's get it on. You see here a big portrait, a big statue of Bruce Lee in the harbor of, I think it is the statue here in Hong Kong. Yeah, you see this is an image, an idol, because it is larger than life or larger than Bruce Lee, who was 5'7.5", I think he was, weighing 140 pounds. So he has been put on a throne, yeah, on a pedestal here, Brett. And this is the harbor of Hong Kong, if I remember correctly. That has not been paid by the city of Hong Kong, but on private funds. But that's not important. Important is that the people are admiring Bruce Lee for his physical abilities, for his knowledge of martial arts. And he has been seen as the father of martial arts, although there were people before him who were mixing everything up to just win fights, but he made it on a big scale, so he brought it on a big screen, and so that people are being admiring Bruce Lee for being maybe the most famous Asian character of all times. I think he's far more famous than even Jackie Chan. Okay. The Bible tells us,
little children, keep yourselves from idols. Amen.
Yeah, because we have to worship God, because God has created man. Yeah, so why worship a man when he was created by God in the image of God? The problem is that many Chinese, especially Hong Kong people, and also the family of Bruce Lee, they don't believe in God, but they believe in enlightenment. They just believe in Taoism, in the Buddhist notion that everything is in everything, and they have been reportedly been very superstitious. That will be also an issue later on. So you see that he has been seen as a superhuman, yeah, almost unreal. When you see from the footage, from the intro, that he was able to do 1-inch punches, although I think it's like a push. And he has been able to do 2-finger push-ups. He was in an unbelievable shape, but that was just a continuing of extreme hard work on several years that does not somebody achieve with just a few hours of training, of course. So you find these statues everywhere. Yeah. And you dare criticize Bruce Lee. No, I don't criticize Bruce Lee. Actually, I admire his physical skills, but I see also the price that he paid for that. I see also the deception of the people, because he's been used by the industry to fool many, 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 many people. And we will go into this later on. So I'm not criticizing Bruce Lee. I'm just looking for the truth. I don't care about legions of fanboys. You see, the Backstreet Boys got their fanboys, Elvis got their fanboys, Beatles got their fanboys. I'm only in for the truth, because you have to see the broader picture. There is a reason why Bruce Lee had been made famous, and it was not his physical abilities. I'm not speaking negative about this man, but I want to find out why he is such a household name nowadays. And that's not only about his physical abilities. There's an industry behind it who decides who will be famous and who's not. And that's all about money. And the main chief criteria of Bruce Lee, as we have learned in the last session, was he wanted to have 10 million US dollars at his disposal in 1980. He wanted to become a star. That's it. So if his ability would be, he would be the world's best cook, then he would have maybe opened his own restaurant. If his ability would be that he was the fastest driver, he would maybe enter racing. Yeah, but his abilities was Kung Fu. And of course, he came from the background of the Chinese opera from his father's side. So it was quite natural, because he was also a child movie star in some kind of way. When he was very young, his first role he had in 1941 at the age of 2 months. So he was destined to become a movie actor, quite like his father. Bruce Lee had been a child actor, a little star in Hong Kong. At the age of 9, he did a movie. Yeah, and so he was quite known in Hong Kong. He is Kung Fu Jesus. Why he's Kung Fu Jesus? Because he's got now his own paradise. And his paradise they have erected in Macau. Yeah, that's quite convenient, because Macau, also as well as Hong Kong, is a special administrative region of China now. So you see, they have erected a monument, a statue, with its quite not by accident 18 meters high, so 3 by 6. Yeah, so 666 is the number of the beast or of Satan. Yeah, so this is just another idol to deceive the people. Yeah, you don't have to believe the Bible at this moment, but you will see all the references in a few sessions from now. Yeah, so that is his paradise. Paradise means the Garden of Eden. We have talked about that briefly at the end of last session. Yeah, you can skip it back if you like. So for all these fanboys out there who think that I don't have any clue, just let me tell you that it's always very hard to look at things from a different perspective if you're being used to be deceived all your entire life. So therefore, Galatians 4:16 in the Bible is asking,
I am therefore become your enemy because they tell you the truth.
And that, of course, goes for every idol, if it is James Dean, Elvis Presley, or whomsoever. Yeah, these people are being worshipped like gods. Yeah, little children are falling in coma at when the Beatles began to play. Huh? So unbelievable. So this is a golden calf. Yeah, people have to worship something they see. They can't worship. Many people are not able to worship anything they can't see, because God has to be worshipped in spirit. And many people, they really need a golden calf or something, an idol, statue, or what else that they can rely on, that they have something to see, something to feel. Yeah. So going back at Bruce Lee's definite chief aim, I have highlighted here the 5 times I will in his short summary of his definite chief aim in 1969, and his first movie, The Big Boss, he made in 1970. So quite later, he got the offer of Hong Kong, and then he moved with his family to Hong Kong, and there he had his big success. It's the same as these 5 times I will of the Bible when it comes down to Lucifer, the old name of Satan, when he says, I want to be like the Most High. Yeah, so I want to be worshipped like God. Yeah, but I don't want to be repetitious here. I just want to show you the similarities, that you really see that it's very strange that he has pinned it down this way. It's quite a similarity here. Maybe he was aware of Isaiah 14, I do not know. Yeah, so that we will later talk about. Yeah, so these 5 times I will, that's also the reason why there is a pentagram. That's a black star, David Bowie would say. Yeah, so that is the pentagram. That's a sticker. I have bought a magazine here of the former witch of New York, the White Witch of New York, although there is no white and black in witchcraft. They are serving Satan. Yeah, be blessed. Yeah, so nobody can be blessed by a man, but only by God. So this is also a distraction here, but be blessed. And this Wally Ermlag, who is using kind of a nature religion here, Wicca, from witchcraft, has been refurbished by Jared Gardner in the 1950s, 60s in Great Britain also. These, they are using the satanic symbol of the 5-pointed star, as well as the United States flag, as well as the Chinese flag, as well as the flag of the European Union, as well as Germany looks for the superstar, and American Idol. All these are searching stars, and Bruce Lee wanted to be a star, and stars are being depicted in the Bible as in the prophecy, book of prophecy, Revelation, as fallen angels. This White Witch of New York, Wally Ermlag, we have talked about in the sessions of David Bowie extensively. She had also connections to Mark Bolan from the band T-Rex. That was quite from the same period, beginning of the 1970s, when Mark Bolan of T-Rex had his big hits like Metal Guru or Get It On. Yeah, this was just the beginning of the 1970s. Yeah, these were the days of the glamour rock, when men started to dress like women or putting clothes on like women, having long hair like women. Yeah, so therefore, I thought it would be best to go to the script of David Bowie. Has been 3 years ago. My. Now you see the black star, the pentagram, also from the last album of David Bowie. Yeah, so they are all into Satanism. David Bowie also here in women's clothes at the beginning of the 1970s, and that is absolutely forbidden in the Bible. That's have it a go for Brett.
Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5, the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination of the Lord thy God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're all worshiping Satan. And yeah, well, I think David Bowie did so many sessions about David Bowie. Yeah. He did also drugs and studying occult literature and practices. He needed exorcism. He later said that Satan was living in his indoor swimming pool, and that's why he got in touch with the so-called White Witch of New York, Wally Ermlag. Well, that's her. The mysterious White Witch who exorcised David Bowie. You can't find it hilarious, but it's been written in the biography of his wife. So I can only tell you what these people are telling. Yeah, he was living, therefore, in a house nearby the Manson murders in 1969, where also Bruce Lee was kind of involved, because the then husband of Sharon Tate, who has been stabbed to death, being pregnant by the Manson family gang, the then husband Roman Polanski, he thought that Bruce Lee was one of the murderers. Because somebody found glasses near the site of the murder, and Bruce Lee has lost his glasses. Luckily, they found out, the official story goes, that Roman Polanski was finding out that Bruce Lee has needed other glasses, more stronger glasses than the ones, or the other way around, than had been found there. But that's just Yeah, according to Mark Spitz Bowie, a biography, David Bowie was obsessed with using occult magic to attain success and protection himself from demonic forces. Yeah, and you can look it up as entertainment here, but no, that was quite real. Wally Ermlach has taught magic at the New York School of Occult Arts and Science at the 14th Street of New York. She knew Jimi Hendrix and was also friendly with Mark Bolan, T-Rex. Yeah, a couple of years earlier, Ermlach had recorded a spoken word album with King Crimson's Robert Fripp named The Cosmic Children. It had never been released. There must be a reason why, according to some other sources. Yeah, so Angela Bowie, that's his former wife, who has told us in backstage passes, Angela Bowie, about the devil in the pool. Bowie entered a stage of heavy drugs and dabbling in the occult. He would snort cocaine and read books on the magic and the occult, doing what he thought would safeguard his psyche against evil powers and the alike. He read books like The Psychic Self-Defense, yeah, and so forth. And this has been stated here in that book, that he needed that exorcism here. Yeah, we did that a few years ago. If somebody is remembering that, we did that years ago. I'm not the one who wants to make here a short story long. Let me just look it up if there is something important. Yeah, and that Mark Bolan from T-Rex said that rock and roll is magic, his contents are magic, and electricity is establishing a connection. Yeah, and he says that, oh, you can also move tables. Yeah, it's like a seance and all that stuff. So he's also into occultism. Very interesting to learn that he was befriended also with that white witch, Wally Ermlach, because not only did she had do sessions in magic in that bizarre school. That's her. It doesn't look like a white witch, doesn't it? Huh? It looks like a dark witch. David Bowie signing here a Kabbalah Tree of Life, Judic mysticism. Yeah, these symbols are not protective. It's the other way around. You attract the dark side.
Yeah, I've heard that one before, Michael.
Oh, I had to. You have to crush down so many prejudices. Oh. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. World is permeated with this stuff.
There it is here, the source. Yeah, Wally Ermlach believed T-Rex leader Mark Bolan was the reincarnation of Merlin the Magician. Yeah, these people. Yeah, so that was just, that is the pentagram, the 5 times I will, like the chief aim of Bruce Lee. You see it here in the depiction of Wally Ermlach's pamphlet about Wicca. This is just some pictures of it. I have that magazine. Yeah, Wicca, the hidden religion, all these pentagrams everywhere. And that girl does not look very happy, doesn't she? Huh? My. And so there are no white witches. Witch is a witch is a witch. Which is which? Yeah.
Is that what a Ouija board she was playing with there?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's the entry level of Satanism. Yeah.
Right.
To introduce people. Oh, it's just a play. Yeah, it's like card reading. Also, it's the same. Yeah, Inside Occult New York. Yeah, Kate Bush also got her witch called Lily. It's unbelievable. This world is, all these people are, the higher they're ranked in the society, the more they're into Satanism. It's quite logical if you have seen our last session. So I'm going out of this script now because we want to make it in the Bruce Lee script. So the largest collections of book on the mysticism was in New York and Wisers, and The owner, or the son of the founder, said, as I began to meet Wall Street brokers who utilized it and doctors who wanted an understanding of unorthodox medicine and psychologists who used palmistry in their work, I became interested. Yeah. So all these people with money, Wall Street brokers, come on, it's only for the money. Doctors, in for the money. Psychologists, in for the money. Yeah. These are not the usual workers, lay people, mountaineers. No, these are just Wall Street brokers. They want to have more money, more material power. Yeah, so Satan has been given all the materialistic things in this world, according to Luke 4:4 in the Bible. Yeah, therefore they are all in it. They are all in the same boat.
What did you say, Michael? Was it 2 Corinthians 4:4?
Luke 4:4.
Oh.
I think you meant the God of this world, but I meant here that all this power and glory has been given to Satan, and whomsoever will worship Satan, yeah, will have his share. Yeah, so it's Luke 4:4. One thing leads to another.
Yeah, but remember 2 Corinthians 4:4, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them.
Yes, sure, but also in Luke 4:4, the devil taking him unto an high mountain showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will I give it, and thou wilt worship me. I can't show you so many things at the same time, but of course I'm so polite that I show you also 2 Corinthians 4:4.
Well, that's my point, Michael, is that, it's no wonder that people go that way because, the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like these people who have simple minds.
Well, we all have simple minds, Michael. It's just which way do you want to have faith? Do you want to have faith in the God of glory? He's got the glory. We don't. It's his glory.
I did not want to make a cheap joke, but I just want to point out that there is a group called Simple Minds who are also worshiping Satan or Lucifer. When you see their songs like Sanctify Yourself or This Earth You Walk Upon, these are, or Seeing Out the Angel, these are all songs they made to glorify Satan.
Yeah, but Michael, there's two different ways. And this is the way of man, to always glorify himself. It's like saying all music is bad, Michael. Mm-hmm. No, there's good music.
Yeah, nowadays I prefer instrumental music because I can't worship Satan that much.
There you go.
Instrumental music.
There you go. I agree with you.
Mm. So the higher you're up in the hierarchy, the more you have to serve Satan. Yeah, David Bowie was into occultism, as many other people too. Yeah, but you can't only serve God or the mammon. So coming back to Bruce Lee, finally. Bruce Lee as the Asian role model of the 20th century. Let me put it this way. Yeah, maybe on second place, maybe, I do not know, Jackie Chan, maybe, but just Bruce Lee everywhere. Yeah, this guy has such a legacy, it's unbelievable. Yeah, but you see that if some people worship Bruce Lee or somebody else, they violate the absolute first commandment, Brett.
Mm-hmm. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the first love is, right?
Yeah, and also they should not make any graven image.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but they just erecting statues all over the world, not only for Bruce Lee, but there are many Bruce Lee statues.
Yeah, listen to what it said right back up a second, Michael, back to Exodus 20, verse 1. See, this is really what it's all about. Exodus 20, verse 1, where it says that I'm sorry, Michael, I'll make you go through this.
No, I have to make it to there.
Thank you. Yeah. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And what's going on today with this agenda, Michael? It's all about bringing it back, bringing us back into the house of bondage, bringing us back into the land of Egypt, making Egypt new and afresh. That's what the stinking world is doing. It's all about reviving Babylon right before your eyes and making a joke out of it so you laugh about it. And it's really funny, isn't it? As you lose your soul. You go laughing to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're at, Michael.
Yeah. Okay, these are the Beatles. Yeah, Daniel 3:5.
That at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king hath set up.
Yeah, that's what the people are doing actually. And then in the moment when the music, then the guitar is coming or somebody singing Allah, they lose their minds. It's unbelievable. But this hysteria has been fed by the media. Yeah? So can you imagine that these people are out of their minds? These are young people, of course. And when I was confronted with Bruce Lee, I was 14 or so. And Bruce Lee, of course, is a role model for all the people who are being bullied around. Yeah, that slim Chinese actor can beat up anybody. If I would have the abilities of Bruce Lee, nobody would beat me down. Yeah, so that many people are very affected to Bruce Lee who have been just bullied in the youth, for example. I am a Beatlemaniac. Oh my. She does not know anybody. She only knows the public picture which has been presented to her. Yeah, she does not know anybody of them in person. And somebody who can have rupees and is touring all over the world and has so much money is usually not interested in a poor young girl. I think these pictures speak for themselves. I'm not telling you these are not the same people who are falling for Bruce Lee, of course. It is mainly a male audience. Yeah, but you don't want to know all these details, I think. Yeah, but what's the same is that these Beatles have officially been discovered in Germany, in Hamburg, in the so-called Star Club, 1962. And later on, that image has been modified, Brad. Look at this. The Star Club now with lesser.
Yeah, pentagram instead of a hexagram, yeah.
Yeah. So it is. It's everywhere. It's also everywhere, that symbol, huh? It's everywhere. So if we would go down the road of Beatles, where do you start? Yeah, Beatles actually are named after Capri, the Egyptian eagle, and yeah, okay. You don't want to know that, I think. I think you don't want to know that. Yeah, so the Beatles have made a white album which was published exactly 5 years after the assassination on John F. Kennedy, which was a ritual, by the way. Yeah, so there are no coincidences.
Yeah, you were saying that, Michael. So 22 plus 11 is 33, yeah.
Yeah, it was a Freemason ritual on that behalf, but only on the outside, so that people who are delving into the subject for hours and days, months, years, or whatsoever, they will find that, now I know the truth.
And here's another thing about 1968. 1968 was the year that movie was released to the public, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 33 years before 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that whole thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Everything ties together here.
Everything ties together. If you would go into the Beatles, we would need 10 more hours. And Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club's Band when they were doing that movie Rosemary's Baby of the Moonchild of Satan, referring to Devil's Pepper of Rosemary and Rosemary's Baby. They had that Satanist Aleister Crowley on the cover of that album here, the Beatles. Beatles were also Satanists. We have so much things to prove that. But where to start? Maybe later. Yeah, maybe later. The first thing that I wanted to do in the line of my research to Bruce Lee is to look for the basic things, because many people are not starting from the basics, but just want to see what's on the surface. I want to know the foundation of it all. If you go down the path of what actually are martial arts, many people are telling you, the true story of Bloodsport, that's an excerpt or a still picture here. A lifetime martial arts is a noble spiritual path. Yeah, but sorry, it has to be done with weapons. It has to be done with fighting. Yeah, so it is not only a noble spiritual path. That's just that is just incorrect explanation. Martial arts has to do with fighting. Yeah, why? You simply look it up in etymology online. The explaining of martial means warlike or to pertaining to war. Yeah, so it has to do with war. It has nothing to do with the biblical of love thy neighbor as yourself. It has to do with war. Kill your neighbor and not be killed by him. From medieval Latin martialis, of Mars of war or war, from Latin Mars, Roman god of war. So if you are into martial arts, you are venerating a Roman god without even knowing it. You can refuse now or stop the session, stop anything listening and say, these people are out of their minds, but we are here to sort things out. This is the correct interpretation of martial arts. These are the arts of war. And as there are martial arts, these are the arts of the Roman art of war. You can be an Asian guy when you say that, no, I'm not doing Kung Fu. They speak not of Kung Fu, but of Gung Fu. But anybody would say that I'm a martial artist, then he says that I am venerating a Roman god. That's quite easy. That's what the name says. And the name has some meaning. In Latin, it says nomen est omen, so the name has a meaning. Everything has a meaning. So, this is Mars. This is the god that people are venerating without even knowing when they are doing martial arts. Not when they are doing Kung Fu or karate or judo or boxing. But if somebody says that I'm a martial artist, then he's referring to a Roman god. Simple as it is. So this is Mars. Furious Mars was the Roman god of rage, passion, destruction, and war. So where is the positive side in that? Mars ruled early Rome as a part of the archaic triad, a masculine ruling triumvirate that also included Jupiter and Quirinus. The early Romans referred Mars as a great raging god whose fury inspired the savagery of warfare and produced the stunning accompaniment of the Roman arms. Yeah, the Roman army, of course, Roman was and is the last empire. Yeah. So it is. According to the mytho-historical accounts of the founding of Rome, Mars was the father of the twins Romulus and Remus. And this, according to mythology, were the two who have founded the city of Rome, so-called the Eternal City. In the Bible, Rome has been depicted as the great city. Yeah, but not in a favorable way, but just in a very destructive way. Yeah, this is the whore who sitteth at many waters. Yeah, this is Mystery Babylon the Great. Yeah, so Rome, or in Rome, Mars was the father of the two founders, Romulus and Remus. So that he was a god of war who has been worshipped there. Not only there, but also in the entire Roman Empire then. Yeah, Mars and the Roman state religion. He was a key figure in the Roman pantheon, so of the pagan gods. Mars was regarded as a kind of second in command to Jupiter, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Yeah, so that's it. And Mars is quite the root guy, and when it comes to tactical and strategic thoughts, then it is the female Minerva. Yeah, so when it comes down to tactics, yeah, it's female. When it comes down to sheer brute force and power, then it is Mars, then it is male. Aha. So these are the remains of the Mars temple in Rome, the temple of Mars Ultra. Mars Ultra means Mars the Avenger. That's reminded me of an old series of the 1960s from Great Britain. Once again, Great Britain had occupied Hong Kong until 1997. That is a series called The Avengers, with the world famous Emma Peel, played by a member of the British Empire, I think she was later on, Diana Rigg. Emma Peel. She was displaying a karate girl in the 1960s. So that was the time when karate and boxing was getting famous. Until 1970, on a big scale, on a big screen, Bruce Lee came around to switch it then to Chinese Kung Fu martial arts. Yeah. So what would Emma Peel do? Of course, she would do karate to hit and to destroy her opponents. Yeah, she's into martial arts. Karate. Karate means the empty hand, so you fight without weapons. Yeah, empty hand. Karate. And now you look at the similarity between her dress in the 1960s and the dress of Bruce Lee in Game of Death, 1972. It has been started. Yeah, with his dress, although he wanted to make a leopard movie after on, and that's the official explanation. I think it was why he has chosen these colors. And it's quite interesting that Emma Peel, or Diana Rigg in her character, he used that side stripe training dress quite a few years before. Emma Peel Diana Rigg had been taking karate lessons, which made her no carbon copy Kathy, etc., etc., etc. So that's here from the Avengers. You see here the reference to Mars, the Avenger, and that's the Avengers. Yeah, it's not depicted here, but here's the Avenger girl, Diana Rigg. Yeah, so she does martial arts, and therefore they have named maybe that sessions the Avengers. My, what a coincidence, huh? Diana Rigg in iconic catsuit. And of course, later on, before you think that I have forgot it, it's of course the same reference with the dress than in Kill Bill. Yeah, that's the same. That's also a reference to Bruce Lee here. If I remember correctly, Uma Thurman. But it's just not important now. So let's get back. Yeah, this is just from the first episode, The Avengers. It's a karate blow delivered by an expert. It breaks the necks easier. So it's all about that's a special tactic, and these people are able to kill. Yeah, so it's a deadly force, this karate. Yeah, so that is then presented to the public like superhumans. These people, these sportsmen, these karate practitioners, they are superhuman. They have special abilities that no one outside the karate world does not have. Yeah, so that is experts. Back to Mars. In Rome's Forum of Augustus, commissioned by Octavian and completed in 42 before Christ, the Temple of Mars Ultor celebrated the god's role in the Battle of Philippi, which saw Octavian crush Julius Caesar's assassins. Mars was accorded the respect owed to a deity of his high office. Festivals were held to honor him in March and October. Why? The beginning and the end of the campaigning season. He was honored especially in March, a month named for him. So if you speak about, yes, I have been born in March, then you have been born in a month which has a relationship to the Roman god of war. Not speaking about that these people are making war, of course, but this month has been named again after a pagan god, after Mars, March. The Romans would typically offer rams and bulls to Mars as sacrifices or hostiae. Yeah, so it's a veneration. Mars has survived in the popular lexicon thanks to its various cultural elements that bear his name. The Romans bestowed his name upon the fourth planet from the sun, Mars. So you see, it's not only a month, it's not only a Roman god, but it's also a planet. The great red planet aptly symbolized the god fiery passion. Mars was also the source of the name March, which in Latin was known as Martius. For many centuries, and that's very important, March was the first month of the Roman lunar year. And that is also very, very, very important and natural because nature starts when winter is over. So the 1st of March, or March in general, is the start of the actual year. All other things have been modified into the Gregorian calendar from Pope Gregory. So it's all the papacy who are trying to change times and laws. It's a natural law, if you would like to say so, that the year begins then when nature awakes and not when nature is asleep in January. January, usually the month we called after Janus, a Roman god, when it is coldest. So look at any climate diagram and you will see that January usually is the coldest month of the year. So why should this year start there? This reason is simple, because there was a Pope Sylvester, whose veneration day is on the 31st of December, and they decided then to split the year, and to venerate this Pope.
Michael.
Yes.
So, Daniel, chapter 7, verse 25.
Yeah, I know.
No, but our listeners should know.
Yeah. Let me.
This is what Michael is making reference to. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change times and laws, and they shall be given unto his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Now, we can't go into every detail of this verse, but what Michael was just simply pointing out is that the Antichrist is simply thinking to change times and laws. Doesn't mean that he's successfully done it, but it does, because he's in control of the world system. So the world system goes ahead and views it that way, just like they view the calendar, right, Michael?
Yeah, it's just simple to deceive the people. Yeah, usually you have to ask yourself, why has it been changed? Because it is absolutely unnatural. But many people do not know, and many so-called Christians do just follow a man instead of God. So they follow the Pope, or any Pope, or the papacy. And the papacy, in the old Protestant way of actual history, the papacy is the Antichrist. He's the substitute, self-claimed substitute, but actually he's just the...
That's the crux of the problem, essentially, because sadly, no one teaches that the protest, the time when everyone in the world knew what the problem was at that time. It's a shame we've lost that history, and it's not taught anymore from the perspective of the Great Reformation, because that's when the powers that be, or the powers that used to be, were diminished and stripped of their kingdom. And we're talking about the Pope's power. So today we have the Pope rising back up, don't we, Michael?
Yeah. And if you would know the Bible, you would know the colors of scarlet and purple and all the stuff, and you see that there's
Revelation chapter 17 and 18. Everyone should know that too.
Yeah, but where to start? Yeah.
Revelation and Daniel are very, very critical.
Yeah. Yes.
They're the prophetic.
So you see that it's so easy to see the truth, actually. Yeah. Yeah, so this is also a sun symbol here and not a part of a bread. You see that you don't cut the bread with the...
Oh, the Eucharist, yeah.
The Eucharist, you don't cut it out circular. Okay, but that's a mess in its own.
Oh, it sure is. The doctrine of transubstantiation.
Yeah. So the red planet aptly symbolized the God's fiery passion. Yeah. The red planet. It's a red planet. It's called Mars. Welcome to Mr. Musk. Mr. Musk has a son called XAI AX12 and blah, blah, and has also Exadark, Siderel, Musk, and you see this guy is into transhumanism. Quite obvious. Yeah, and so this guy who says Occupy Mars, who officially is offering people to fly to Mars, it's just has another meaning here. That means that he's serving the Roman God. Yeah. Nobody asks how can anybody be so successful just to erase a company making electric cars and all the stuff. Where does he have all the connections? Where does he have all that money? Yeah, so these people are just putting.
Well, it's just like this Zuckerberg character came out of nowhere, right? And came up with Facebook idea. Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure. Musk wants to go in 5 years to Mars from 2023 onwards. So in 2028 there will be war. Yeah, that would be one suggestion here. Yeah, occupy Mars. Yeah, so he's into a Roman god. Yeah, you don't have to believe me. You will see that in the future what will happen then, and you will also see that it won't be possible to go to Mars. But it's just an agenda to fool people into a heliocentric sorcery system. So Mars is the name of a bright reddish orange planet in the heavens, like according to the Roman god of war. He has also agricultural attributes that would be the same as Saturn, which is Satan then. The planet was so named by the Romans, no doubt, for its blood-like color. So this is the official explanation on the internet from Etymology Online about the planet called Mars. The planet was so named by the Romans, no doubt, for its blood-like color. And now I show you the papal shoes. If you go to Wikipedia and search for papal shoes, they say the red shoes also symbolize the submission of the Pope to the ultimate authority of Jesus Christ. And we know, because we have just talked about, that the colors of the harlot church or the whore of Babylon are scarlet and purple. And we have just learned, because it says here by Etymology Online, the planet was named, no doubt, for its blood-like color. And now Wikipedia wants to fool you into believing that red has something to do with submission. No, it has something to do with the blood-like color. Because no organization in the world have shed so many blood in the past, like the papacy. Think of all these so-called crusades. Yeah, think of all these so-called missionaries. Think of Latin America. Ask the Indios what had become of their ancestors. My. You see that Wikipedia is no source for truth. Yeah. And red shoes also is a synonym also for the wizard, speaking of witchcraft, speaking of Wicca, speaking of Satan, the Wizard of Oz, the red slippers. Now you got it in one picture.
Yeah,
The
what
red,
is this, Michael? It says, beyond this, it is said that the red papal shoes also signify God's burning love for humanity as exhibited during Pentecost, when the red vestments are worn to commemorate the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles as tongues of fire rest upon their heads. Oh, really?
yeah, these are fairy tales for adults.
Yeah. Man, it's called exoteric learning.
Yeah.
Not esoteric. No. We dare not speak of esoteric learning, Michael.
Yeah.
Because everyone will hate our guts if we do. Because you know what? There's two sides to every coin, isn't there?
Yeah, but you see that here the witch is then holding their magic staff to the red shoes or the red slippers of Dorothy, who wants to get back to Kansas in The Wizard of Oz with her dog Toto. That's where the name of the rock band is derived from. Yeah, and so her magic has been symbolized with the 5-pointed star. And now you can guess why every big organization in this world has a 5-pointed star, because they all belong to the worshippers of Satan.
You know, it's interesting. There was some time ago, Michael, I found this picture of Pope Francis being paraded around, and they had a very dark colored pentagram on a stick there too. And it was in the picture, and you could see it clear as day. It's just so strange, but I guess nothing is that out of the ordinary when you come down to the dogmas of the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah, you see these priests of the Roman Catholic Church, they are sorcerers because they are commanding Jesus Christ into that small bread during the Eucharist. Yeah, you see, no other man is able to command God but the Roman Catholic priest.
Well, that's what they claim, right? So,
that's what they claim, yeah.
Yeah, they're full of it.
My. You see that. But just people are only being indoctrinated to follow orders by authority. The authority from
Michael.
the professor, authority from the doctor, authority from the priest. Don't question authority.
Remember the old term bull, you know? Papal bull, you know? You also call it BS.
Yeah. Papal bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So that's what I meant. You have to educate yourself. You have to see the symbolism. You have to learn everything, because you won't get the truth in media, school, university, nowhere. You have to look for yourself, yeah? Even when you do not expect it. Because this is the Mars symbol of the famous Scandinavian car manufacturer Volvo. That's where you would least have expected that, I think. But this is how our world works, actually. This is how our world works. It all works on symbolism. At Toyota here, nothing is impossible. Yeah, it's just the rings of Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's Mitsubishi, the 3 diamonds. Yeah, it's a triquetra. It's a symbol of Trinity. Subaru is a symbol of stars. Yeah, Saturn, there's also an American brand or division called Saturn cars. Yeah, and it goes on and on and on. You see, Nike also has Nike is a Greek goddess. Yeah, and as well as they are showing you also the ring around Saturn here. Chevron is also a symbol of authority of Satan. That why you find it on the stickers of the military. Yeah, and it goes on and on and on and on. You could explain every symbol. This is how our world is running. Kia is also a spirit. It's a pagan god. Where to start? Mercedes-Benz also, you got the ring of Saturn here, if you would like to see. It's in the middle of a so-called star, but it's also a Trinity symbol. Maserati has a trident of a Neptune Poseidon. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in this world. Yeah, you won't get famous if you do not serve Satan. Yeah, AAA, Citroen with the chevron. It's everywhere, and this is the most prominent. Yeah, it's just the pentagram, and if there is a circle around it, then it's called the pentacircle. Yeah, or a magic circle. So magic inside the circle. Yeah, so March is the third month of our year now since the newly developed Gregorian calendar, but it used to be the first month because Mars has been depicted as male. And the beginning of the year is when the seed, so Mars means male, means force, means brood, means power, means seed, yeah, is been planted. Planted where? Where into, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but you have to have the seed first before it becomes a fruit. And so that's Mars, yeah.
Oh, it's interesting you mentioned seed. You also need soil, too. You need to prepare your soil properly, Michael. So very, very vital to...
yeah, but soil would be female, yeah, because it is on the receiving end. Yeah. So you need the seed and you need the soil. So you need male and you need female to receive a fruit in the end. And that's also the reason why the zodiac. So zodiac means the 360-degree circle divided into 12 areas of so-called fixed stars around the ecliptic in astrology begins with Mars. So it begins
Michael,
with impulse. Yes.
Yes. Have you studied the Bible when it speaks of the soil? That the seed, when it falls on good ground, it can actually yield, tenfold, hundredfold. So what is preparing the soil in the terms of the Bible? I tend to think more of the soil being the soul, your emotions. If you
also it is the message of the of the in German Evangelium, the message of the gospel. Yeah, if it falls on fruitful ground, then it will become fruit and
prosperous. Yes,
prosperous and multiply. And
right.
If it then falls on dry ground, nobody wants to hear. You got people with deaf ears spiritually. Nobody wants to hear the truth because they are just too busy venerating their images and idols and just to socialize. Yeah, because many people, or the majority of people, are just only looking what the majority of people are doing. Yeah, so it's very easy to manipulate the masses. Yeah, once you have manipulated them, it's very hard for people to have an individual thought because they are being forced to obey because that's democracy. Democracy means
that is the prime introduction, what you just said, Michael, to a video that was done some years ago on the BBC, believe it or not, called what was that again now? Happiness Machines. And the very first episode was about propaganda artist Edward Bernays.
Oh yeah,
very interesting study for anyone interested. Go look it up.
I got a book of him here, Crystallizing Public Opinion, which had been used by Joseph Goebbels, the German propaganda minister.
There you go. See, they all work together there.
Yeah, all work together, and he was also a relative to Sigmund Freud. Yeah, so they were just supporting each other.
Really, really important information for anyone just starting to come to the knowledge of history and, putting things into perspective.
Yeah, you've been fooled all your life, but you see that
Yes.
your education,
Yes.
your education has been done by the state. Yeah, so the
Mhm.
state does not want to have critical thinkers. The state just wants to have people who just obey. That's it.
Well, the state wants to take away Christ and replace him with the false, you know, it's all your indoctrination too, isn't it?
Mm.
It all works together. Yeah, again.
It all works together. Yes.
Yeah, that's why we say we have to reformat the mind. We have to reprogram the mind because we've all been programmed by this false system.
Mm.
And, you know, maybe somewhere along your life you break down from it. I know I sure did.
Mm.
But, you know, if you don't know what's going on with you, it's easy to fall right back in and
Mm.
get taken by the enemy. So,
Yeah, so that's Mars. That's usually the first house in astrology, which means the force and your motivation in life. Yeah, so that is Mars, and that's very interesting when you see that in the case of Bruce Lee. You see where the sun is. The sun is very prominent in his horoscope at the time of birth at 7:12 a.m. in the hospital of San Francisco. The sun is standing on the ascendant. Yeah, so this is here the sunrise. So he's born exactly, almost exactly at sunrise. Yeah, so you can see when people are superstitious, they will say that, oh yeah, he's been born to conquer the world. Yeah, the world has been waiting for him. Yeah, because he has been born at sunrise. Yeah, so sun is going up, a star is rising. But later, much later. Yeah, much later. We are just into martial arts. Yeah, so every planet and every Roman god has a several meaning. And the Roman Catholic Church, as we have mentioned, as the Whore of Babylon, as the seat of the Antichrist, as the harlot church, and whatever title you will give to her, these are sun worshippers. That's also the reason why the Eucharist, this bread or this loaf of so-called bread, is circular. It's like a sun. It's a sun symbol. They are sun worshippers. That's why they worship the Sunday instead of the Sabbath. Yeah, the day of the sun has been worshipped instead of.
oh yeah, and that's
Sabbath.
ancient. That's been around for
That's
thousands
been
of
around.
years.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And that's kind of how it all ties back to the natural man as mentioned in the Bible. You
Mhm.
know, all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big differentiation between a believer of Christ and a believer that says has no faith.
Mhm. Yeah,
Huge
so
difference.
Bruce Lee had got a dominant son, and so that people will say that the family of Bruce Lee, I do not know if they were in astrology, but I know they were very superstitious. We will go into later into this. Yeah, many will say that, oh yeah, he was a star. Star has been born, yeah, so to speak. Also, he has been born in the year of the dragon and in the hour of the dragon, according to the Chinese astrology calendar. And so that is so important when you know that Mars, martial arts, means a Roman god called Mars. And martial arts means then the art of Mars or the art of war. So what this
Yes.
Sun Tzu character here depicts actually is just only the translation of martial arts, means the art of war. And that is a very prominent book, also among historians and also, of course, among martial arts practitioners. This Sun Tzu character was, supposed, a Chinese military general, strategist, philosopher, and writer who lived during the Eastern period of 7071 to 256 BCE, before Common Era or before Christ. To suppress Christ, they have changed the times and laws according to Daniel 7:25. So therefore, it does not is not been promoted as before Christ, but before Common Era. Yeah, so nobody knows where that Sun Tzu has lived. It could be 700, it could be 250. It's the same like some allegedly Greek philosophers, which we have found out in our series, Science is the New Religion. His birth name, according to legend, is Sun Wu. The name Sun Tzu, by which he is more popularly known, is an honorific which means Master Sun. So the master of the sun, or the one who masters the sun. So that means we are already into somebody who is a mythical figure, yeah, or a legendary historical and military figure, and nobody knows anything exact except this book, Master Sun. Master Sun. There are many, many religions who are worshipping the sun. It's the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, everybody who's worshipping Saturn, it's Satan. Yeah, IHS is worshipping Saturn because Saturn is incorporated in the H system here, on the H symbol, IHS. It's a cross, and at the same time, it's a kind of a Saturn symbol. And all these people are just worshipping Saturn, the black planet of limitation, death, fear, social order, poverty. The black sun. It's like in the in Germany, the Third Reich, they had also the swastika, which is kind of a black sun. And that is not correct. IHS is the exoteric explanation here.
You know, Michael, it's mentioned in the book Rulers of Evil about Sun Tzu.
Yeah, we shortly will come to this.
Oh, okay, I'll be quiet then.
Yeah. Because there's also a very interesting phrase coming from Michelangelo Tamburini, the 14th Jesuit general, who says, "See, sir, from this chamber I govern not only to Paris, but to China, not only to China, but to all the world, without anyone to know how I do it." And that is coming from a book, The Engineer's Corps of Hell, or Rome's Sappers and Miners, page 33, in that paragraph here. That's the last one here. The Engineered Corps of Hell, Rome's Sappers and Miners. Once again, Rome. All roads lead to Rome, and there is nothing good coming out of Rome. There is, for example, the Club of Rome, who says that there are limits to growth now, and we have to depopulize. The Club of Rome. I leave it up to your imagination or research who's steering and founding that Club of Rome in the late 1960s. Yeah, so that was a quote here that the Jesuits, as the military army of the papacy, of the Roman Pope, remember, the god of war is Mars, is claiming that they are governing not only China, but the entire world from his office. It's also depicted in many other books, and it's not to be underestimated, that quote from the Jesuit general Michelangelo Tamburini 300 years before. Yeah, 300 years before. Tamburini, the general of the Jesuits. 300 years before, they tell you that they are governing China and the entire world. My. Now we are 300 years later. And it's so obvious that everything is coming back. Yeah. It's always the Jesuits. It's always the Roman Catholic Church in disguise. And of course, if it is a military operation here, the Jesuits, because they have been set by the Pope, at the military regime of the church. That's what regimini militantis ecclesiae actually means. That's Latin. That's the regime of the military church. Of course, they would be glad to have a book, to have a kind of operation manual for war, for Mars, or the art of war by Sun Tzu. And as there are also sun worshippers, I think that's quite interesting. We could do thousands of sessions upon it, but I'm just skipping it forward. It's unbelievable, but we cannot do everything here. Sorry, there are book readings of Rulers of Evil, and that book also is officially been available on archive.org. Yeah. So Sun Tzu's historicity is uncertain. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything. His work has been praised and employed throughout the arc of East Asian military history since its composition. During the 20th century, the art of war grew in popularity and saw practical use in the Western world as well. Yeah. The oldest available sources disagree as to where Sun Tzu was born. Nobody knows a thing. Nobody knows a thing. You can look it up. It's just Wikipedia BS here. The art of war. Statues, images, and idols. Huh? During the Gulf War in the 1990s, both Generals Norman Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell employed principles from Sun Tzu related to deception, speed, and striking one's enemy weak points. Deception, yeah, like Satan. Yeah? Deception, using lies, deceiving people. Yeah, the end justifies the means, the Jesuits claim. So this is a book that Brett has mentioned before. That is the book called Rulers of Evil, Useful Knowledge About Governing Bodies from F. Tapasorsi. And from that book, we have here several excerpts, which is about this Sun Tzu character. And as Brett is eager to read it, I will enhance it a bit so that he has a much more easy job. I hope, tell me if that is big enough, or shall I enhance it a little bit further?
No, you can go further. I got a tiny screen, sorry.
Okay.
No.
So this is 250%, maybe?
Perfect.
Better? Okay.
The reputed author of this work is a quasi-historical Chinese general believed to have lived in the 6th century BC named Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu was unknown to Western languages until Joseph Marie Amiot, astronomer to the Emperor of China, brought forth a French edition of the 13 Articles in 1772. Amiot was a Jesuit priest under obedience to General Ricci. I base my inference that Ricci is the author of Amiot's Sun Tzu on a remark from today's premier Jesuit spokesman, Malachi Martin, retired professor at the Pontifical Institute in Rome, to the effect that a book written by a Jesuit, due to the obedience factor, can be presumed, quote unquote, in essence, to be the work of his superior general. Amiot's Sun Tzu, then, can be presumed to have been written by Lorenzo Ricci. Yeah, sure. We could go on and on and on.
It's not easy to imagine, because we have heard before from a quote from the 14th Jesuit black general, Michelangelo Tamburini, that he is governing China also in the 18th century. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so look how close it is. 1772 to the quote we have just read. This is 50 years after the quote. It is very close in the timeline after that quotation that the Jesuits are governing not only Paris but China, not only China but the whole entire world. Yeah. So when he is claiming that in the beginning of the 18th century and 50, 60, 70 or what years later, then the French edition of that is coming out, then is at least the French edition of that been translated by the Jesuits. And we are quite certain here that Sun Tzu is another development of the Roman Catholic Church, or the Jesuits in particular, because the Jesuits are a military, the Roman military regime of the church, because they have taken over the Inquisition by the Dominicans, or from the Dominicans, in 5040.
Yeah, you could say that it's Satan's spiritual arm, couldn't you?
Yeah, not only spiritual, but just military arm. And so it is no wonder that also the military of the very famous states, or the United States of America, also have that pentagram symbol on it, because they are making war. The art of war. What we have just learned.
But Michael, I'm just simply saying their spiritual aspect is all about war. It's all about fighting and killing off the Protestants. That's all it is.
Yeah, you see, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, actually.
Well,
the reference to Caesar is significant. The reference to Caesar is significant. China had not been suppressed or occupied by the Roman Empire. Yeah, well.
Well, I think it's easy because we're in the Roman age, Michael.
Yeah.
Yep. According to the book of Daniel, we're in the Roman age. Hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, that's really. I believe that anyone reading Amiot Sun Tzu in 1772, knowing that its translator was a Jesuit, knowing the Jesuit mission, and knowing the nature of Jesuitic obedience, could observe world events with this knowledge and predict that the dispute between the American colonists and the British Empire would end, as it actually did, in Roman dominance over a new independent republic. You see? We are not the only one who think that the Jesuits played a big part in the invention of Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu says, from The Art of War, a quote of the book, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle." Well, aren't the Jesuits been very prominent for being a wolf in sheep's clothing? Yeah, to know their enemies better. Yeah. So many of the historical problems with understanding Sun Tzu's work can be traced back to his first Western translation. A Jesuit missionary, Father Amiot, first brought The Art of War to the West, translating it into French in 1782. Rulers of Evil speak of 1772. Unfortunately, this translation started a tradition of mistranslating Sun Tzu's work, starting with the title The Art of War. This title copied the title of a popular work by Machiavelli, but it didn't reflect Sun Tzu's being far, which would be better translated as competitive methods. We cannot say what effect being translated by the Jesuit priests had upon the text. It was unavoidable that the work's translation reflected the military prejudices of the time area. Then war was both popular and Christian. It was never Christian. It was Catholic.
There you go. Again, so many times we find this.
However, war was on the verge of becoming much less Christian in the West, since this time was the era of the French Revolution. Oh, it was quite some years before the French Revolution, right? The work might well have slipped into obscurity after its initial publication, but it was discovered by a minor French military officer. Oh, a military officer, once again. Maybe a Freemason, huh? After studying it, this officer rose to the head of the revolutionary French army in a surprising series of victories. The legend is that Napoleon used the work as the key to his victories in conquering all of Europe. Yeah, well, that was my suspicion before, because Napoleon was a Jesuit in disguise and officially a Freemason, huh? It is said that he carried the little work with him everywhere, but kept its contents secret, which would be very much in keeping with Sun Tzu's theories. Yeah. However, Napoleon must have started believing his own reviews instead of sticking with his study of Sun Tzu. His defeat at Waterloo was clearly, which is in Belgium, by the way, was clearly a case of fighting on a battleground that the enemy Wellington knew best. Wellington's trick at Waterloo was hiding his forces by having them lie down in the slight hollows of his hilly land. This is exactly the type of tactics Sun Tzu warns against in his discussion of terrain tactics. After Napoleon, Sun Tzu's theories were making their way into Western military philosophy. Many of his ideas are reflected in the ideas of work of Karl von Clausewitz, who defined military strategy as, quote-unquote, the employment of battles to gain the end of war. Yeah, well, and I added here, Napoleon, well, don't forget he was a Freemason. Huh? Yeah, but when the Jesuit superior general was been quoted here in a French book, Andrew Steinmetz's History of the Jesuits, Volume 1. Sure. See, not only China. Not only China, but the entire world, including the British Empire, which occupied Hong Kong. Sure. Where would you start? You see, we are doomed in this world. We are really doomed. We are living in a satanic world, and the majority of people do not get it. They do not get it. That's the Jesuit general. From this chamber I govern not only to Paris, but to China, not only to China, but to all the world, without anyone to know how I do it. Well, of course, using the Roman Catholic Church and their confession. And they had Jesuitical confessors to the French kings, for example, Ludwig, the Sun King, Ludwig XIV. Yeah, there's so much to learn about that. That is coming here from another quote, Jacopo Leone and the Jesuit Conspiracy, the Secret Plan of the Order from 1848. Yeah, where to start? Yeah, Rome's sappers and miners, once again. So I always try to back up the sources, so I do not want to read any quote. You have errors then, misquoting anything, wrong context, but you see that I think that is quite obvious. It's in many books. Yeah. And so it is very easy when you go into symbolism who's ruling the world. It is also not a Draco-Aryan empire, it is simply the Roman Catholic Church. It is the last empire on the feet and the toes of the Madman image, but I think that would be far too much to go into this. But it's a red dragon here. I think we can sum it up. It's a red dragon here. And where is that? That is in the city of London, which is a corporation, which is the financial headquarters of the world. There are 3 headquarters. It's a spiritual headquarter is in the Vatican, of course. The financial headquarters is in the City of London Corporation. That's a so-called square mile, although it is not square, but it's so-called a square mile, where everybody, including the Queen, officially has to ask for access to the Lord Mayor of the City of London Corporation. So that is a state in a state, or a sovereign in a sovereign state. Empire or the United States of Britain or the United Kingdom would be sovereign, which I highly doubt. But this is the symbol of them, and that is a red dragon. That's not hard for a Christian who knows the Bible. What that
yes, Michael, and don't forget the military headquarters of the world.
Yeah.
In the United States here.
Yeah, in Washington, the District of Columbia, and not a part of the United States.
That's right. That's right.
So
that was established around 1870, as far as I remember.
Yeah, but thanks for reminding me. I would have forgotten that. But you see, these are sovereign states in a sovereign country. The Vatican is a sovereign state in Italy, yeah, in Rome especially also.
Okay, so you can look up the Organic Act of 1871, and it just says in a real simple search here on Google, is an act of Congress that repealed the individual charters of the cities of Washington and Georgetown and established a new territorial government for the whole District of Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Organic Act is what essentially dissolved the states as we knew them into the District of Columbia, which is, of course, like you said, a sovereign state that is not even part of the United States, believe it or not. So, and yet we believe it is. You know, we're so patriotic, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, maybe you, but here in Germany we have no we have no right to be patriotic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you know, there's a lot of things that happened in World War II, and they were very devastating for Germany back then.
Yeah.
And supposedly, you know, the United States owns Germany, right, or something to that regard. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think it's always interesting, you know, to look back on these things. But yeah, there's a lot of war crimes that are pretty ugly. What the States and the Brits did in Germany, not very pretty.
Yeah, it's the bombing of Dresden and Hamburg and all this stuff. Yes.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, maybe that was also a military exercise for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Who knows?
Well, there's that too. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what we had proposed in some previous sessions we did. Yeah. Interesting point of view, Michael.
That's not far-fetched.
No.
It's very close on the timeline. In Dresden, it was February in 1945, and in Hiroshima, it was 6 months later in August. So it's not that.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's another.
So the red dragon always is a depiction of Satan in the Bible. But who reads the Bible? Huh? Yeah.
Book of Revelation. Yeah.
Yeah. The massacre of Protestants, so Protestants against the Pope, the massacre of Protestants ordered by the Jesuits were called dragonades. And by the way, the now King Charles from the United Kingdom is also has been the Prince of Wales, and the flag of Wales is the red dragon. Yeah, so you got it everywhere. You got it everywhere. Yeah, it's this world is not so complicated if you really will open your eyes. Yeah, the flag of Wales. Yeah, it's not hard to know what a country Wales is or the United Kingdom or what. It's not hard. Yeah. Yeah. The problem is that the people do not read the Bible.
Well, actually, I'm surprised when I look it up. Dragon is mentioned in Nehemiah, Psalms, Isaiah, and Jeremiah and Ezekiel in the Old Covenant, you know, and then in the New Covenant, of course, you have the Book of Revelation mentioned a lot. But it's interesting how, you know, when you take a good hard look at the entire books of the Bible, how the Old Covenant really comes to reflect a lot of things that have been omitted in modern teachings. So yeah, very, very interesting to study the Bible, Michael.
Yeah, if you see here Revelation 12:3, there is a great dragon, and we have talked about that last time. Yeah, the dragon, and the Bible explicitly tells who the dragon is. That's Revelation 12, verse 9, Brad.
Yeah, the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
Yeah, so his angels are his followers, if you would speak in terms of Facebook. And think of this, that when
Facebook.
when the city of London depicts their symbol as the dragon or the red dragon, because the red dragon has been mentioned before, some verses before 12:3, they absolutely submit that it is Satan who's ruling the City of London Corporation, which is quite logical because it's the center of financial issues. And we know from Luke 4:4 that the devil has been giving the authority about any material things in this world. So it's obvious. If you compare it with the Bible, you have quite other explanations, and they make sense. They make absolutely sense. Yeah. The problem is that in China, everything is the other way around. Yeah, so they are worshipping the dragon as the mightiest animal, and so you see, they have black dragon fighting
the supreme
societies.
grand master, huh?
Yeah.
Ah, oh, they got to throw that in.
Where to start with Matthew 23? Call no one your master.
Oh, yeah,
Rabbi.
that's right, man. Oh man.
But in martial arts, you are full of them. You got grandmasters, and you got supreme master, and you got all the stuff in it. Yeah, so everybody wants to be supreme on top of one.
Well, that's in Freemasonry, though.
Yeah, also yes, of course, yes. It's a hierarchical system. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so they're training you. They're training you at a young age. Hey, this is how the world is. We have grand masters.
That character here is absolutely BS. I have forgotten the name, but you see that know that the dragon is called the devil and Satan in Christianity, in real Christianity, not in Catholicism. Sorry. Yeah, when you see that symbol here, yeah, in a financial district, which is depicted as Satan in the Bible, the great red dragon, devil and Satan, then it's quite obvious. So, and then compare that, please, with Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. Yeah, or with Return of the Dragon, or what else, you see? Yeah, he's been named the dragon. In a Christian way, he's in alliance with Satan. And what he's doing martial arts. He's doing the art of war. He's doing the art of a Roman god. He's doing martial arts. And look, when you really are profound in Bruce Lee, how many times he talks about martial arts. He talks about Kung Fu, because he's Chinese. He talks not about Kung Fu, but Kung Fu and Kung Fu schools and all the stuff. But he talks about martial arts, and he talks about a Roman god. Yeah? And this fight here with Chuck Norris, we will go into this, happened in the Colosseum. Some pictures of it, some frames of it. Also, they have built it in Hong Kong then, because that would have taken too long to do it entirely in Rome, and it was also not allowed. But just for the heck of it, yeah. You see, the way of the dragon means the way of Satan, the way of the devil. I know in China it's all the other way around, and I feel sorry for the Chinese people because they have been manipulated. But we know that the Roman Catholic Church or the Jesuits, they ruled China since 300 years. So that's no wonder that China now is a communist country.
Well, and for you believers out there, it's really simple. You just go to Colossians 2, verse 8. Then beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. See, It's philosophy, it's vain deceit, it's traditions of men, and it's the teachings of the world, not the teachings of Christ.
Yeah, that's also one of the problems that you face, because usually Bruce Lee has been seen as an extreme good philosopher because he has studied philosophy at the University of Washington in Seattle. Yeah, so that the sheer amount of his library and of his books that has been displayed is usually creating the impression that he was a highly educated individual. Yeah. For example. But that's an argumentum ad populum, yeah. So that's majority argument, yeah. You can read hundreds of useless books. Yeah, you see that he was into philosophy, yeah.
No surprise.
No surprise. Sure.
No surprise.
No surprise. A source
what is theology, Michael? What is theology?
It's a mixture of two lies.
It's philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's no different.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but you see that it's always the other way around. And I can even show that on a more simple example. Yeah, it's all about death. Yeah, it's Game of Death. It's Enter the Dragon. It's always about beating up and killing people. Bruce Lee is constantly killing people in his movies. It's not about self-defense or smart philosophy, solving a crime or a riddle. It's always about death. Always. He kills O'Hara. He kills Han. Jackie Chan has been killed in his movie. Yes, okay, Jackie Chan was a god. Yeah, he has been killed in the movie Enter the Dragon. Chuck Norris has been killed in Way of the Dragon. You know, it's always the dragon, the red dragon. The red dragon is the national symbol of Wales. William is the Prince of Wales, so his symbol is also the red dragon. There's much to be expected from William, because many claim and many think that William, the future king of Great Britain, will be the Moonchild. He will be elected as the one who's been then governing the one world order. Let's see. But you see this mythological animal here, and Bruce Lee has been called himself the little dragon. There will be much more in the future. Yeah, Elon Musk is not by coincidence is calling his rocket Dragon, SpaceX Dragon. Yeah, they are all in the same boat, guys and girls. They're all in the same boat. Beware. Lest any man spoil you with philosophy of vain deceit. This is all vain deceit. Oh, you can go to the stars. You can go to the Mars. You can be a supreme being watching on these losers.
Oh, yes. You can be transhuman, too.
Yeah, that's true, of course. Yeah. Yeah, that's also very interesting
never mind,
point.
Never mind the transvestites, huh?
Yeah,
there was a time when people called them transvestites, the people that go around thinking they got a different gender, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a shameful name, and now they come up with what? Transgender. Oh, that's so much better, yeah. Clever thinking.
Yeah, that's also a thing which has to be reckoned with. You see that many websites are claiming about Bruce Lee's superhuman strength. And that guy was very powerful. I've talked to somebody who has been trained with Bruce Lee, and I will later reveal who it is. And he says, yes, he could really strike hard. And of course, because he knew physics and all that stuff. Yeah. But usually he's been seen with superhuman strength. Yeah. So it's a superhuman. And I would, although it's not my, it's just a regular channel here. Of course, he's been seen because this is just happening because that man is off his balance. Yeah. So it is, of course, also a theatrical act. Not taking anything away from his performance or his power, but it has to be spectacular, you see?
Mm-hmm.
That's 1964, if I remember correctly. So, and the thing is that I think that this will also be the future for transhumanism. For example, upgrade your own physical body. Mm-hmm. Don't you want to be so fast like Bruce Lee? Don't you want to be strong like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Don't you be so smart as Albert Einstein? And I think that is a path which will lead many people astray in the future, Brad.
I agree. It's a way of synthetically planting information in your brain. I don't think that's too healthy. Do you? Instantly learn a different language? No.
Yeah. But that's it. You see that people really, they want to achieve something. They really want to be something special. Yeah. They really want to be something special. Yeah. And they will sell it to you as an improvement. Okay. For disabled people who are making the choice to have some artificial limb, artificial leg, artificial hand, or whatsoever. Yeah, that's one thing. But I think more of a broader scale, that people really want to have dominion. They want to be supreme. They want to rule the world. Arnold Schwarzenegger said, yeah, people need the Führer. By the way, his father was a policeman. And his, if that information is correct, his father has been called the Terminator And you can guess why. It was in the middle of war, and the SS and police, they were chasing everybody who was not in line with the government's opinion at that time. Yeah. So, but back to the script. Yeah, we see everywhere dragons. Yeah, dragon boat races, and dragons are very, very spectacular and very prominent in Chinese opera also. Yeah, and to sum it up, as I said, there is everything 180 degrees in China, and then we sum it up for this martial arts session. Although I think that the majority of your dear listeners would have thought about something else that we speak about, but we have to sort out the facts first. It's everything tossed around. Brett, didn't the Jesuits say that white is black and black is white?
If the Jesuit general deems it so, yeah.
Deems it so, like yeah. And you got the same symbolism here. Yeah, usually in karate, so the empty-handed Japanese form of Kung Fu, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was your superior, not Jesuit general. It's your superior, which is, of course, a hierarchy.
Yeah. Then imagine that you have a rank system in the belts. Yeah, you start with a white. Right. You start with a white belt. Yeah,
and you go to black belt. Yeah,
you go with a black belt. Yeah, but what does white and black mean?
Oh, well, you have white being what would it be? Yeah, I forget. But
purity,
right?
virgin,
okay, sure.
Yeah, spirit,
sure. And then black would be submission, right?
Yeah, black would be the absence of light, actually.
Mm-hmm,
yeah?
True.
So
right.
yeah, black. Somebody are not depicting black as a color, but black is a color, but it's not reflecting the light. Yeah, so it's absorbing the light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, what that means is it's the other way around. First of all, you have to know that in China, everything has been tossed around. So the color of joy is black. Yeah, and the color of mourning, if somebody has deceased or so, is white. Yeah, so it's the absolute opposite to what would be natural. Yeah, so usually here in the Western Hemisphere, we dress black when we go to a funeral and not white, and it's the other way around in China. And you see here in a Japanese, Bruce Lee is here in a black belt because it might be. True that he was a judo black belt because he often used judo also for grappling and all that stuff and groundworks and so. That means that you are not pure anymore, that you are not innocent anymore, but the black means that you now totally absorbed by the system. And I was in awe to the black belts when I was in a karate school 40 years ago or so. But that's it. The color gets darker, so it absorbs light, and you're totally into the system. You have mastered the system. Yeah. So the black belt is then having several under categories. Then the first dan, the second dan, and etc. to the, I think it was the 10th. But actually, it's the other way around. It means that now you have served your black belt, but black is only in some Asian countries the color of joy, happiness, and enlightenment, and all that stuff. But here we would depict it as does not reflect any light, and so therefore you are bound. Yeah, this is binding you. This belt is binding you, is holding you together in that martial art system. I know that sounds dull, especially for people who are black belts out there and maybe by accident are just switching on here and just joining this strange session of two Christian guys. But think of it. Yeah, Bruce Lee was against any belts officially, but he did wear that judo outfit there. That's also my point. Yeah, everything has been turned around. Yeah, everything has been turned around. If you look to Linda Lee, his widow, at the funeral, she is completely dressed in white. Yeah, at a funeral. Yeah, so it's the same thing as dragon. Yeah, they are worshiping the dragon. Yeah. So what do you see? Linda Lee had her husband's Bruce Lee funeral in Kowloon. That's Hong Kong. Except from the dark sunglasses, for obvious reasons, she's dressed in white. And look at the people here. They are dressed in white. So that is really a thing we have to understand, that this is a total, complete other system we are talking about here in China and Hong Kong. Of course, I always mix up China with Hong Kong sometimes. Yeah, so, but we have to really see what it is. You see that it's a strange world, and we have to get used to it, actually. And I think we have talked about so many points. Yeah, we have talked about so many points. I would like to close it down, but it was very important for me that you really know that martial arts means the Roman god of war. Yeah, so that so many people are depicting themselves as martial artists and absolutely have no reference to the Roman Empire and Sun Tzu and all the stuff. And you can start your own research there, if Sun Tzu ever existed, or if it's just another trick, because since 300 years, also the Roman Catholic Church and all her servants are ruling the Chinese Empire, and it is by no means a People's Republic of China, Brett. That's my 2 cents for today. Thank you for your patience, thank you for your concentration, and especially thanks for Brett for accompanying me. Thanks for bearing with my bad English as usual, and looking forward to the next session. And until that, Maranatha. You have to unmute your mic.
Oh, thank you, Michael. You know me too well. Oh, yeah, here I am talking to the air, talking to no one. Oh, but anyway, yeah, thank you, Michael, for the session. And I found it very interesting, delving into the topic of Bruce Lee, even though I really don't know hardly anything at all about the martial arts or anything of that extent, never studied it, never looked into it even, really. And yeah, it's definitely has to do with having this attitude of I got to go out and hurt someone today. I got to go out and kick some A, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
But it's never been my cup of tea. I've always been the musician type of person.
I'm just using that example because I was deep into the research
of
for
Bruce
sure.
Lee.
And you can combine that with history and China and America and the current situation, because you see that all this 2019 thing also happened in China. So I think that you can draw a complete picture with many, many, many items in it, many subjects to deal with, so that I hope it's interesting also for the people who are maybe not into Bruce Lee, but into history, into China, whatsoever. I hope that we can have many interesting issues, because many people suggest that China will be the current world power, but if you know that the Roman Catholic Church is already in charge, there is no superpower but the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah.
Well, and that's just it, Michael. It's so easy to be led astray today in our in the world that we live in. Is just so enthralled with, you got to have your ideology, man. Well, what ideology, they don't say, no one says it like that, but that's essentially what we're getting to here is there's just all these little different programs going on here to take you away from the biblical truth, Michael. And that's what Michael and I are peering into. Well, what is the biblical truth? We're not the authors of it here. We are just simply watchmen, willing to do the research, willing to look into the more critical, painful things that we don't hear a lot of so-called Christians talking about, Michael. So that's our job. We hope we do a good job at it, and so be it. If we don't, at least we try. And that's the point. And look forward to getting together and on our next sessions to come, God willing. Hope to see you then. Maranatha.